Hello, I'm Lauren Cedarstrom, and I'm the host of the All Around Grant Show. Today I have with me Larry Lanou, my frequent co-host, and today we're going to be talking about a number of things. But first, hope everyone, this is the July show, hope everyone has a wonderful 4th of July. And we also make sure to honor your veterans. And today we're going to be talking about a number of things. Of course, I say caption the show All Around Grant because that's what I'm trying to do. Bring to the citizens of Grant some of the things that are happening. And today, one of the things we're going to show you some videos of some current developments in Grant, including there's a brand new pedestrian bridge that goes over Manning Trail. As you know, they're extending the former Zephyr line and making that a part of the trail system, the Gateway Trail system, so you'll be able to ride your bicycle all the way into downtown Stillwater. So that's kind of an exciting development. But the bridge is very long, and we're going to be bringing you pictures of that being put in place because it was a very large operation, very huge equipment. Then another development that we've had, of course, we know we are going to be having both an event barn and a supper club. Some of you may or may not know, but Tom Carr initiated changing the ordinances to have commercial properties in A2, which is large rural areas, which is against the comprehensive plan. Of course, evidently, Teflon Tommy doesn't pay much attention to the comprehensive plan. He doesn't, I don't know, maybe he hasn't read it, I'm not sure. So we have some photos of that in the development. And basically the event barn is a old barn in the northwest section of Grant, where they decided to make weddings, have a wedding barn. And it was a beautiful old barn, but there are some problems with that. Also, of course, as you're all aware, we've had a lot of water. We've had basically a year's full of water in 6 or 7 weeks. We're up to like 25 inches of rain in May in the first half of June. And one of the events with this is flooding. Well, we have I'm going to show you some tape. It's terrible tape, but you'll see where the flooding is going from Lost Lake. And the problem with that is there's mercury in Lost Lake, and that is going to be directly flowing into White Bear Lake. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. And we're going to be talking a little bit about, obviously, Wildwood School and the Mahtomedi School District. And then we're going to bring you an update on the Grant Charter Commission. As some of you may know or may not know, the Grant Charter Commission was set up by Judge Hoffman after the City Council petitioned to have one in place. And we try to televise that and bring you up to date on what's happening. And what a charter does is brings a set of checks and balances in. And we really need that in Grant because the mayor has disbanded the Planning Commission. And our comprehensive plan said all plans have to be reviewed. And as a result, they've made 2 major changes to ordinances that creates a higher probability of sewer and water being brought into Grant. Now, that would be devastating to many property owners because it's $400 a foot. If you get a bill for $125,000 and say, that's okay, you got 10 years to pay it, but you're also paying interest on that, that could devastate many property owners. And it also, putting that much property on the market at one time when there's a constant demand, the bottom would fall out of the prices. The property would be seriously devalued. Currently, Grant is prized and valued because we're 10-acre minimums, we're rural. If people have enough income and means, they can come out and have their children enjoy a safe rural lifestyle so they don't have to worry about their kids hanging around the mall, getting into trouble. They can be riding horses or mini bikes, bicycling, skateboard jumping, whatever they want to do on their own 5, 10, or 40 acres, whatever you have. I mean, they can even do target practice. So it's a lifestyle that we're trying to promote and save, and that's what we're doing through the Grant Restoration Project, and we'll be talking a little bit about that to preserve, protect, and promote the city of Grant. And again, you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, Grant is one of about 7 cities that are within 12 miles of a capital that is almost exclusively rural. That's an anomaly. It is just makes it a very special place. It makes it a high demand place, and the properties aren't cheap. But people come out because they want a little bit of buffer between them and their neighbors. They want their kids to be able to see butterflies and bees and birds, see wildlife, flora, fauna. So there is a reason for Grant staying the way it is, and of course the GRP is designed to do that: promote, protect, preserve.
Actually, Lauren, the GRP, like you said, it is to protect your property rights, which we seem to be losing them incrementally here recently, preserve our rural heritage that we all value so much, and promote citizen participation, which our city council has completely taken away from the citizens.
Well, because we have we have public comment, but it's at the end of the meeting and it's not taped. If I would not take a camera and tape it, we would never know what's being said. The importance of public comment now is, if you have a concern about something, whether it's a pothole or a problem in the road or an unruly house or, break-ins or something, at least if someone comes in and expresses a concern, or it doesn't just have to be a concern, it can be something positive, happening, well, then the other citizens that share the same ideas and views say, wow, I have the same concern. But Teflon Tommy doesn't want that to happen. He's going to run this city his way, and obviously, with changing the ordinances against our comprehensive plan, doing the things he's done, and we've outlined that before, he's just on a rampage. He is determined to bring water and sewer into the city of Grant. And the things he's done, really kind of, if you look deep, but most people in Grant are busy in their lives. They don't pay attention to what's going on. Of course, there's some people out there don't know what apathy is and they don't give a damn, as long as their taxes are low. So these are some of the things we're going to talk about. But what I thought we could start with, we have two little short videos of the new bridge going in. And the first, them moving it, and the second with the crane setting it down. And they had two huge cranes out there. It was just immense. They had to shut the road down. And this was really quite a feat. I was out there for 2.5 hours, but I'm just giving you 2 maybe minute clips of it. So control room, if we could roll the first clip, please. There we go. They're moving it over the road, as you can see. There's a massive yellow crane on one end. And as the video proceeds, you may be able to see the second crane, but they're slowly moving it over, and they're going to be placing it on pilings.
Lauren, actually, they did that, they set that, first that section you're going to see that they lifted and set was actually four separate sections that had to be bolted together.
With expansion joints, we might add.
Right.
Because it's so long, you can't make the bridge solid because of
all bridges have built-in for expansion for our weather in Minnesota because we go to such extremes. But they built it in 4 sections. They did this in 2 picks. They actually took 2 cranes, picked it, slid it over the center of the road, set it back down. And the amazing thing is when you see the final pick, you'll understand the massiveness of that crane, because actually that single crane picked that whole bridge. It took 2 to slide it over, but it took 1 just to set it.
Massive, very large crane. Okay, control room, if we can play the second clip on the bridge, that would be wonderful. And there's the one single crane. You're going to be able to see it being lifted up. Huge. I've never seen a crane.
At this time, they have already, in the other clip, they've already picked that bridge up, drug it across Manning Avenue, and now the reason they do that, they can have more control with one crane if you have one that's got enough power. The amazing thing is on the end of each of that bridge, they had 2 taglines with one man standing on each end to help, keep that in line. So
isn't that kind of like having a mosquito on an elephant's butt?
Well, it is to a degree. As long as you don't have a windy day, it's amazing. You will have an effect on it.
Because it's perfectly balanced.
I own a crane, and you have to be very conscious about what you're doing, and weather does play a part. And
you also have to have it perfectly balanced, and they were measuring that to get it the balance perfect.
All this was all pre-engineered where the slings were. if you see the slings on there, those are actually nylon straps. You would think they'd be steel cable, but they're not. So technology has really changed in the last few years, especially in the crane industry.
And this is just the section that goes over the manning now. And it's 4 sections that are bolted together just to get over it. Plus, there's a couple sections that this is going to be placed.
Yeah.
So
One of the things I'd like to talk about, Lauren, while
you
we
can see
have
the
this,
second crane back there in the last shot there a little bit.
while we had the video up here, is our new Grand Marshal for the Grant Restoration.
So you can see the far end where they're,
Yep.
okay. The new
I'd
Grand
like to
Marshal.
talk about our new Grand Marshal, and it is going to be Bob Hagstrom. And Bob Hagstrom is another good example about citizens getting involved. Years ago, I noticed a grader going up the Gateway Trail, and I stopped him. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, we're preparing the trail to blacktop it." I said, "Really?" I says, "When they originally came to us, they told us we were going to have a dual treadway." So I didn't bother the road grader. It's his job to get out there and
Grade the roads, that's
grade
what he
the
does.
road. That's what he did. So I made a few phone calls. I says, I got out, talked to Ed Speltz, great horseman in our community, St. Croix Saddle Association, trail riders, and we organized. We went down to the state legislature, and we lobbied to make sure we got a dual treadway. I did stand down there, and if you've been to any hearings
Now
down
tell
there,
us what the dual treadway's for. There's a asphalt one for bicycles, and then there's a
the
gravel one.
walking and horse trails. So we have 2 separate pathways.
That's a bridle path, right?
Yes.
You know, I've been out there numerous times, and I've yet to see one bride on that path.
Well, you probably, I'm sure they're out there. My bride's been out there, but wasn't on her wedding day. But what I'd like to talk about is when you go to the legislature, and they're getting the funding for this, Lauren, you've seen when they have committees, everybody has 14, 15 people in a committee. So I came to the legislature, and I handed out, I asked them, I said, I'd like to give you a copy of all the bike paths that we have in Washington County. And it was easy. I went down to Washington County, got a handful of pamphlets, and I handed out to each one of them. That being said, they all looked at them, were pretty inquisitive. Although we're talking about a bike path, I was there to talk about the horse path. So I stood there, I said, now I'd like to hand you out a pamphlet showing all the horse paths, because Washington County is one of the highest horse per capita counties in the country.
Country, absolutely. We have
Not the
more
state.
horses than just anywhere else in the country.
So I asked him, I said, now I'd like to hand you a pamphlet showing all the horse trails. And I stood there, and they're still waiting for something, right? And I says, there are none. There are no designated trails. I said, you've come and sold it to the property owners next to it. So I said, I want to just kind of, now that we don't have one, but we have a great opportunity to put a good one in there. I want you to be aware that one of the concerns we have is by just, I know it's cheaper simply to put blacktop on the existing railroad bed. It's a much cheaper way to do that. I said, but you came to the citizens and said we're going to have a dual treadway. And you say that the horse people will, as in other parts of the state, make their own trail along the way, and it's typically single file. Well, I said, from a safety issue, I says, it's not safe for a young kid to be riding head to tail with horses, right in front of them. If they come up on the back of another horse, they're likely to get hurt and kicked. I said, so if you got young kids riding with you, it's nice to have them riding along your side. So from a safety standpoint, we should maintain a wide enough path. I said, I have my 90-year-old grandmother out recently on a hayride. I said, now her carriage rides, chances are she probably would not get up on a horse, but she can get in a carriage. So if we make it wide enough, we can include our elderly. And lastly, I says, every year annually, I hitch my draft horse team, and we give rides to the people from Camp Courage. So I said, if we don't make it wide enough, there aren't these venues to offer the elderly, the handicap, and for safety. And those 3 things were a good indicator. And they come out and said, how can we make this path? And I said, it's got a 3 to 5% grade, and your trails along the side do not have to maintain that grade. I said, actually, the horse people kind of like running up a little incline up and down. So I said, the the trail itself is, I believe, the right-of-way is about 80, 90 foot wide on most parts of the trail. So they designed it. We met with a DNR. They designed it. We worked with Fredlo and Excavating, and at the end, so it was done. So I guess my point in all this is tell you that when people do get involved, you can get stuff
And make
done.
changes.
It is simply by citizen participation that we got that pushed all the way through and just simply didn't get run over. And Bob Hagstrom, since that Gateway Trail has been in and installed, has been very active working
In the association,
in
right?
the Gateway Trail Association. So that's why we're honoring him this year in our grant restoration project coming out here, so that he can
course, the
see
big-
the tail end of all his efforts, you know,
Going
just in
together.
that, putting that bridge
And
up.
that is the first Saturday after Labor Day.
It will be September 6th this year. We would have put it in our city newsletter, although it was submitted. Our mayor simply would not put it in
Well,
there.
we'll talk about the newsletter later. The other thing I want to point out to the folks is that the bridle path stops at Manning. It's not going to continue on.
No, and so what, if you are riding on the Gateway Trail with your horse, and they're not going to allow you to continue riding in the Stillwater, so a good alternative is to stop right at the Gast House. I don't know if many people are aware, but they have a hitching rail set out there for these horseback riders. Right out there, tie your horse up, go in there, have some refreshments, and take your trail ride back. This is by that time, maybe just throw the reins over the saddle and let them go.
Well, now as long as we've been talking about horses, let's transition to barns. Okay, now we're going to talk about the wedding barn. And they changed two ordinances, one for special event centers, and this because the gentleman came in, he wanted to have a wedding barn. So there's been a lot of talk about this. So I went out with a camera, and it is an expert cameramanship, but when you're in a moving car, it's a little difficult. So if we could play the clip on the event barn, please. There we are. You can see a long shot. And this barn it's down in a little valley, part of the old Arcan farm. You had 80 acres there. Then across the road, there's a steep rise, and there's a number of houses, 40 acres there, and they have a lot of upscale houses. And of course, there was concern about this because last year they had a wedding, the doors were open, and sound travels very well at a 45-degree angle.
We should have taken a shot, Lauren, of the neighbors in Hugo that we completely ignore. And if you go look to the land to the east of that, that now is coming up in a public
This is
hearing
the parking lot.
to develop more homes simply to the east of this barn. So we'll compound the problem we have.
And you can see they're making a huge parking lot.
What you're going to see, they took a very scenic site and they're going to turn this barn into a asphalt parking lot, event center. You can see they're putting extra doors, steps, mound systems and everything.
You're going to see the mound system in a second here. Now, like I said, the camera was a little bit difficult to get in a moving car. And now we're coming to the mound system. That's where they're putting the sewer system. There we go. That pretty much takes care of it. But I wanted to explain to people or give them an idea of exactly what this was. The whole problem with this is the barn is very close to the road, which is the city limits, okay? Right across the street, up a high hill, is Hugo. And there were so many problems with this. There wasn't proper notification. They didn't run it through the planning commission.
Of course, they've gotten rid of the Planning Commission by design, but I'd like to read a little statement, just on a vision statement. It's from our goals and policies from the comprehensive plan. And it says the vision of Grant is a rural residential community abundant in scenic recreation and natural amenities. The community shall strive toward the protection of residential, natural, and agricultural resources to enhance and promote the existing strong rural character of the community. City service and government will provide a necessary to maintain a rural quality of life while minimizing the effects of urban encroachment and controlling municipal expenditures. And one of the things that, another one, as you go down further, it says, preserve the rural character of Grant by carefully regulating future development. This is a critically important issue identified by residents of Grant is to maintain the rural character of the community. This will be achieved by providing the means for sufficient use and remaining undeveloped land within Grant with a goal of maintaining continuous blocks of economically viable agricultural lands, mature woods, woodlands, and open space, preserving the scenic view. And I guess we go at another one. It says one of the key deals is to agree with the Met Council system statement to prevent extension of public sewer into water, which
Well, the other point I want to make is that in order to be viable and quote unquote save the barn, there were many other uses that would have been available without having the liquor part and the big parties and the noise. Those people, there's a tremendous amount of noise, and that we've shown testimony before on this. And this was just Tom Cars going off on his own, you know. The whole process was flawed. The guy gave a letter of intent, then he comes back in with something totally huge. The same thing with the supper club. It was supposed to be a little nightclub so he could have a ball field, a volleyball, and a hockey rink, and maybe future golf. Well, then they changed the thing to allow supper clubs in large A2, which is against the comp plan. Then the guy comes back in with a 5,000 square foot nightclub, a 5,000 square foot banquet center, and an atrium. And then the council said, well, yeah, but you have to have 100 parking spaces. Well, what's wrong with their math? 250 and 250 is 500, and we're going to put 5 people in every car?
Lauren, without reading the whole comprehensive plan, I've come up with another one I would like to introduce here. It says that conditional uses will only be allowed if they maintain the overall rural character of Grant and are consistent with the nature of the immediate neighborhood. No new conditional use shall be permitted that has a potential of significantly changing the character, the quality of life, or jeopardizing the general health, welfare, and safety within the immediate neighborhood. And it says the City of Grant will communicate information to citizens of Grant for their improved understanding of relevant issues and development of more participative community. Well, they simply did not post these for the citizens surrounding there to hear them. And that's why call your city clerk. Ask them what Freedom of Information Acts have been requested lately. Our city is going to go into court over this issue because it was not run through a planning commission.
Wasn't properly notified.
It does not adhere to our comprehensive plan, and that's one of the goals we talked about in the Charter Commission is what can we do for accountability. We have a weak mayor system, and I think that the statement
the mayor thinks he's the king. He thinks he can run over the top of everybody, and so far he has. I mean, he's missed, 5 out of 10 planning commission meetings?
Yeah, and you'll see the statement as we do the newsletter, just how involved he is in himself.
Yep. Okay, now we're going to shift gears again. Of course, this has been the wettest year since 1888. Now, on my farm, I've had 13.2 inches of rain in May, and I've had 7.9 in June, and it's only the half of the month of June. Actually, we've had, in these 6-7 weeks, we've had rainfall, what we usually get annually, which is 25 inches. So, but this has resulted in some flooding. And one of the things we're going to show you in this next film is not really great, but I'm going to show you water running over the road from Lost Lake, and it's heading towards White Bear Lake. And the significance of that is mercury they've tested the waters. The last 4 or 5 years, they've tested the waters. Mercury did not appear in Lost Lake until this last year when they did testing. And of course, it's downhill from the Wildwood School. Prior to 72, the electric company put in NSP, dumped their transformers. In them, they had mercury and PCBs. So the problem of that is it provides a corridor to run down into Lost Lake. Lost Lake is now running into White Bear Lake. So bear with me, the clip is terrible, but I was on the fly. So if you control room, you could play the clip showing the flooding. You can see the water. And you see it on the left side, it's going over the road. And on the right-hand side is White Bear Lake. The left side is Lost Lake. And that's where it's filtering through. Again, the significance of that is if these people go to sell their homes, they're going to have to fill out the 3-page disclosure form that they have lakeshore property, and you can see the water flowing over there. and then you'll see the lake, see how high it is. It's right up to the road.
Actually, Lauren, if you, we're at the stormwater assessment deal for the city of Matamita. I talked about this a little bit, and we were to the city of Birchwood and talked to him with Tim Dewesky over there. And even if it's not flowing over the road, there's a set of culverts that, as Lost Lake comes up, it is controlled, and it is supposed to be going into White Bear Lake, even without going across the road. So we've got a direct conduit coming in. You know, the Minnesota Department of Labor Industry, I'll read a quick statement, and this was from the public health engineer Bradley Erickson. It says, any waters, it says, in fact, this is a statement that was written 2 days before Mayor Carr gave the conditional use permit to the school on April 19th. It says, any water service pipe, well, first it says we are not able to grant approval at this time of the plans and specs submitted for the above designated project. And it says that they have to resubmit. Any water service pipe regulated by the plumbing code may not pass through contaminated soils. See Minnesota Rules Part 4715, period 1710, subpart 3. A horizontal separation of 10 feet must be maintained between the water line and the outer limit of the existing municipal waste dump. Removal of contaminated soil and backfilling with soil is not a permissible alternative. Please revise the plans as necessary. And 2 days later, Mayor Carr entered into an illegal city meeting, which was notarized by no less than our own city administrator, a city council member, Scott Fogelson, and 2 planning commissioners, that this was an illegal meeting that they did not allow the public to. And keep in mind, 1 hour later, he entered in a joint powers agreement with the city of Matamidi to send our sewer and water into Matamidi. And 1 year after that, the city of Matamidi doubled its capacity with Met Council to take it. And if you're at our last city council meeting, like I know you were, Lauren, this is about the 3rd time Mayor Carr has introduced the concept of building a fire department with the city of May Township.
That would be on the north.
And that will be the
corner.
north side of the city of Grant. And the importance of we all know that any fire department will require water. That is his means of bringing water to the north side of Grant, sewer and water.
Well, the significance too is you realize he is a realtor, okay? And there's 2 realtors, actually 3, with his
business partner
that flips houses. And their goal is to get more stuff on the market. They want more business. That's just the way it is.
It's inventory, and that's the only reason. I mean, I think it's ludicrous. You have to be aware that we receive our fire protection
from Matamidi
and Stillwater. And Stillwater currently is under contract to build a new $7.3 million fire department, and it's going to be up just north of the Quick Trip gas station over there. So it's going to be right on the edge of Grant, and it's going to be right off Manning Avenue over there. And it's the 7.3 does not include any inventory like fire trucks, and then you have to pay to staff and man those. Well, our city, Tom Carr, he can't maintain and staff citizens for cleanup day for a day. How's he going to do that? He can't get water to our outhouse there, the city hall, and now he wants to build a fire department? Come on, let's be realistic.
Let me hitchhike on that. By the way, we were both at that meeting where they had the runoff meeting, and part of the requirements is that they have a cleanup day, which the mayor has gotten rid of. We were supposed to have a cleanup day. It's in the water plan to clean up the ditches.
And now they can't clean
and now they canceled it.
Yeah.
So
I think the important thing is if you look at Mayor Tom Carr and what he allows for citizen participation, and you said, Tom, I want to send out a limousine to your house to come pick up all your citizens that come and support you and your programs in the city. You know what? I don't think it'd have to be a very big limousine. I think you could send a smart car.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, he's been in office too long. He's taking things out of control. He's going against the comp plan. And if anyone doesn't agree with him, he's ruthless.
But
But we
he's
have
actually not, the mayor we elected and put in office 10, 12 years ago is not the mayor we have today. And as you see, power corrupts absolutely.
Well, we're going to go to the next clip, and this is the gentleman that was doing the testing. Him and his neighbors, in cooperation with the DNR, were testing Lost Lake, and you can imagine the surprise that they had when they found mercury. And this man is also concerned about the wildlife because he has several acres, and there were 9 red foxes around the property. He's buried 8 out of the 9 because they've died. Probably, it looks like it may be the mercury poisoning. So
Well, and consider now he's got a dog that's showing up with tumors. That could be your kid.
So if control room can play the next clip, please.
But I'd really like some answers to know where it's coming from. And I do know that one of the big contributors in that dump was NSP, and they dumped transformers up there for years and buried them on that site where the school is. And those transformers, prior to 1972, all had mercury in them. All I'm asking for is answers, and they won't.
There. Now, he's been all over the place asking for answers. He's petitioned the school board, which, by the way, Mahtomedi schools in the conditional use permit were supposed to be testing the soil and groundwater 3 times a year. They finally came up with some information, and we went out to do water testing. We went out November 13th, and the water was frozen, so we couldn't test it.
Yeah, they tested it. That letter stated it was in January. It said that the water was frozen and they couldn't get any. Well, you could chip it out, but really, if you were at those proceedings, and I know you're on the chair of the planning commission at the time, Lauren, it said that you were supposed to be testing the soils. At least we started 4 times a year, and they whittled it down to 2. And it's supposed to start. They should have started from day 1, so they had a baseline.
They knew what to compare it to.
They still haven't done it. Go out there. I challenge you to go find a monitoring well, because it didn't say we take a little water out of the stormwater. That's fairly clean water coming off the top. You can, if you come right after the rain event, your water will be fairly clean in a holding pond. It's the water that infiltrates down into the ground that migrates, that creates a problem, and there are no monitoring wells for there.
And they were
That's
also
what
supposed to do testing for when they put the sewer in. Wasn't it every 10 feet or something?
Well, it was to show that they maintain a 10-foot separation, and we're at a recent stormwater permitting process, and if you went to the last city council meeting, you'll see that they allowed the city engineer to come talk about the process, and they said we've had no illicit discharges in the city of Grant. He read all the particulars he had to the city council, all but the last step, which was a public hearing. And that public hearing, what they did with that was turn around and tell the people, well, we're going to have that in 2 weeks on a Monday night at 6 o'clock, so come home early from work. I talked to the city engineer. He thought it would take 7 minutes for the public hearing, and amazingly, not one city council member was there to hear the public
And
hearing
I taped it and
comment.
went 55 minutes. When I did, we don't have time for the clips today, but maybe next month we can bring some of those clips.
The ironic part is now it's been entered into Mr. Dewuski's letter explaining what's happening to him has been entered into part of the permitting process, and we've asked that the school property in Grant be added to the illegal, illicit discharge of stormwater, because it's going from there, it's making its way right into Lost Lake, into White Bear Lake. So right now, they received a letter back from the White Bear Conservation Department to set up a meeting with the city of White Bear Lake, their conservation district, and the Department of Natural Resources. And they're asking Mr. Dewuski to come in there because they are concerned. Mayor Marshall was at his house yesterday and said, you know, I believe maybe we do have a problem. So,
Well, we're going the right direction. As long as we're talking about the school, they have a levy coming up this fall, and they changed some legislation this last year in terms of funding. So the school boards can automatically add $300 in a vote without asking the citizens. And I also believe, didn't you say there was a $424 increase?
As I was at that school board meeting just last week or week before, what they're saying is that if we do not pass that levy, they're going to tell you we got zero levy dollars for the voters to vote on, zero levy dollars. But what they're not telling you is that in the metropolitan district in the Twin Cities, schools automatically on their levies have $424. Now they also have what's called school board approved, and they can go up to $300 without going to the citizens for a vote. That will add another $300, totaling $724. Our current levy, and you've got a copy of the ballot that was out there, is $568 or $9. That's going to be a 25% increase in your levy tax for the school if we vote it down. They'll still be getting a 25% increase, but they're going to tell you that they have to cut from their budget.
Well, they also don't budget like normal people do. I wish I would have the clip where the guy that's running a multi-million-dollar company says, my budget's 5 times as large as yours, and you guys are out of control. And one of the things they do is they only tell you half of it. They say bonds are for building, levies are for learning. Well, if you break it down and you combine them a whole budget, you know, it's kind of like if you have a company, you own the building. Oh, that's not part of our financial overlook. Well, it is. It's the building is an asset, and so they do not count how much you're spending per student by taking the buildings into account. The whole budget is $56 million a year, and they're spending roughly $17,000 per student. Well, they're saying, oh, no, we're not, because the bonding doesn't count. What we're paying for the buildings doesn't count. Well, it does count. And
it goes back to the statement, figures don't lie,
and liars
do figure.
Well, and we have this next clip, I think I may or may not have shown it before, but it's a clip of a financial planner. This man has worked in financial planning his whole life, and he's telling the superintendent, where do you get your figures? You don't know what you're talking about. So if we could play the next clip, please.
I'm a resident, and I've had 2 boys graduate from school. They've done incredibly well, and I've got a daughter who's a high school student. Very proud of the schools. You know, I would just iterate, my questions were basically reiterations of the financial question, which is, you know, quite honestly, you haven't made a good case. You haven't made a good case to a resident that the numbers stack up. And I understand what you said. I'm a financial professional. I couldn't follow it. So it's very important for us to make the case in simple terms to simple people like me. And people like me that are soon going to not have students in the school. Make the case that it's in our interest to support the school. And I learned some stuff tonight that I think would be germane. One is we're at the trough of open enrollment. It's going to go the other way. That means we're a closed district. One of my questions was, how has open enrollment affected our property values? And I think short term it's hammered them. And we're double dipped down because we're an open district. I've had colleagues at my place of employment slap me on the back and congratulate me for the large referendum that I'm funding while they're bringing their kids in from other districts. We failed in passing a referendum. It should be a signal to everybody in this room. So this is if we're all around, like you said, an open dialogue around getting the right thing for the schools, we've got to make it to the residents who are last time I checked, the people who vote, right? Absolutely. That it's in their best interest to follow this stuff, which is a good financial argument and a good argument based on their property taxes, or their property values. Because the market's down for everybody. But if you can get the milk, why buy the cow, right? And right now, with the demographics that you showed me, I was going to ask you a question, 680 or 1,000? Sounds like you found it out of 1,000, which means that, I can't move into this district and enroll kids free in the school, which means if you want to, you're going to have to make the choice. I moved back, I'm a Minnesota resident, my wife's a Minnesota resident. We looked for one thing, we looked at the quality of schools, and we said 8 miles by 4 miles, we're going to live in this because there was no open enrollment. So we had no choice but to buy into the district. Quite honestly, as a resident, felt a little bit upset that, we opened it up. Because I look at my property tax and I've lost a lot of money in my house, like everybody in here, right? But the question is, where's the needle going in the future? You gotta make a, for me, it's like, answer the question simply. Answer his question, my question, your question. If we're residents, and a lot of us are not gonna have kids here, and so I'll be done in just a second, but
Thanks.
there's an interesting model that you may wanna look at, which is the Bronxville, New York model. School district, public schools in New York. Your alternative is to send your kids to $50,000 a head private schools. People move into that district, and they move out as quick as they can. As soon as their kids, double income, investment bankers, I looked at Littleton, 40,000 property tax on the average home there. Well, if you're looking at 2 kids, private school, it's a good trade. But you move in when you're 41 years old, you move out when you're 55. There's nobody with gray hair, and I would like to live here with gray hair.
I still have hair.
No, yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think it's an interesting.
Quick here, man.
How are we setting this up long-term for the residents to support it? Because we gotta pass the referendum. So it's just a statement.
Thanks.
There were some questions.
Real simple, Lauren. Our school district picked buildings over education, and if you're at the school board meeting, you'll see everything that they're going to cut out of there, except for principals, administrators.
Well, the other interesting thing is they're cutting the
Counselors.
bottom end out. The bottom end kids, like the special help before and after school and some special ed assistants. Well, it's kind of like, hey, everybody's going to college, and, of course, you realize only 27% of college graduates get a job in their career area, okay?
Yeah.
44% of them are under or unemployed. They're working.
No, they're living in their mom's basement is where they're at. We got to remember, we had those kids that, when we talk about that great Fab Lab, there's kids out there, and that Fab Lab is good, but we got to remember the ones that should be going to the other Fab Lab, and that should be in your metal shop, teaching those skills.
Absolutely. Well, we have one more clip. Again, as you folks were aware, Larry and I had championed a bill. Was it 897?
It was Senate File 775, House File 957.
Which is not allowed to build any more schools in a dump site, and if a school was built in a dump site, you had to notify. Mark Larson was down there testifying against this bill, as was Mark.
Well, Mark Larson, we had Ken Haberman.
Ken Haberman from
Landmark Environmental down there, and
they were
they were the only school district out of 334 school districts in the state that were testifying against this bill. And the bill simply stated, if it's not a toxic site that does not exceed residential limits that would prohibit you from building a school, you don't have to give that notification. But obviously, if it's not toxic, it would not have affected Matamidi. But that's why he testified against it.
And now he's denying that he's ever done it. So play the next clip if we can. We'll talk on the other side.
A couple of quick things on this. One is that we don't deal with Duluth. The legislature is not our business. The legislature is not our business. The legislature is not our business. The construction companies we may work with, but it's not part of that. And the $17,000 is a relatively misleading number. It includes the bond. We're talking about levies and operating levies. The bond is completely different and unrelated.
Stand by what I said.
Well, the part that says he does not do legislative business, we should bring you the tape. Maybe next month we'll bring you the tape where he actually got down there, talked about he is Dr. Mark Larson from Matamidi School District. And yes, we do have some hot spots in that property, but they think they've been properly remediated. And I'm telling you, folks, you as Tim Dewuski, now that they've opened up that channel, it's come down his lake, whether he feels they're properly taken care of. They aren't.
Well, one of our council members called Tim Dewuski and said, well, have you been breaking light bulbs in your backyard and throwing them in the lake? I mean, what?
They won't allow them on the agenda, Lauren, but you know what? They'll take the time to call them at home and harass them on the phone.
Yeah, that's just special. Okay, now we're going to shift gears. We will be continuing to monitor this Wildwood situation. Again, it's starting to develop some momentum. All of a sudden, people are saying, oh my goodness, this is polluting our land and lakes. It does have implications. They're starting to take their heads out of the sand and realize there's a problem. And folks, you may or may not realize that the MPCA has reclassified 8 different sites around the state of Minnesota, putting them back on the Superfund site, including...
And looking at another 260.
And including the Bayport Lakeland area.
Yep. that's
That is,
another
and we've
Superfund
talked
site.
to senators and representatives that are down there, they're alarmed. Lake Elmo is getting a new,
Water tower.
Water tower?
$3.5 million. It'll be right on the edge of Grant, so I mean, it'll be no problem getting your water.
and so, again, when we have realtors on the board that are violating the comprehensive plan, and they have the
Not
staff
just
set
our
up.
realtor, Lauren. Go back, look at the planner that they had an open meeting violation in order to bring the new city planner back. Go back and you look on her history, and you'll see that at the same time her Jennifer Haskamp with Swanson Haskamp Development or Consulting, she held her real estate license with Coldwell Banker at the same time Tom Carr did. So there is a close relationship, folks.
Well, we're going to have some breaking news because as soon as the mediation form comes back, we'll be having some very strong breaking news for you guys in the month of August.
Well, let's give a quick
Charter update.
charter update. I'll just touch on the two things that we talked about, and that was accountability and sewer and water. One was the sewer and water in Grant. We all, according to our comprehensive plan, it's written in there no less than 3-4 times, realize that they're working hard to bring it in there against our comprehensive plan. But recently, the school board and Mayor Judd Marshall wanted to have a meeting with the city of Grant to talk about taking the school property and detaching that school property and putting it back into the city of Matamita. That would take all sewer and water out of the city of Grant, which is what we should be striving to do. Mayor Carr,
And the toxins, I might add.
yes, Mayor Carr stated he does not want to participate. He's not interested in that. But if you go back to our comprehensive plan over there, Lauren, you'll see that when we talk about our city of Grant in the comprehensive, Grant has a weak mayor council plan of governance, whereas each member has an equal vote with no member having more power than another. Yet he has taken that decision. He should have said absolutely.
It should have been on the agenda.
We'll
It
go
should
on
have
and
been
put it on the
discussed.
agenda. We'll discuss it. At least if the citizens don't have a chance to get up and speak, you would have at least 3 council members to hold accountable. But he's taken that decision solely not to do that. And folks, I think it would be good. The city of Matamita provides the fire. Now they provide our sewer and our water. Has no benefit to the city of Grant. And go back to Matamita's comprehensive plan. It said that any further development of Wildwood Elementary should go to the O.H. Anderson. It has adequate safe sites. So they were ready to have that school in there. Let's give it to them.
Let's talk a little bit more about the abuse of power of what's going on. If we can play, we're going to talk about the newsletter that Mayor Carr kind of, we're going to be talking about that. So if we could play the next clip, please.
First off, I'd like to thank Tina for finishing the Tornado Loop Siren project that I started 3 years ago. I think it was a good move keeping the same equipment, same supplier. I would recommend that you look forward to getting on a contract for maintenance on that issue so that it's scheduled, and I think they'll do a great job. And we probably are pretty good with 3 sirens out there. I mean, we can do testing and stuff and figure that out. The next thing I'd like to address is our city newsletter. And I also got my city newsletter, and we submitted an article, and this is the second time the Grant Restoration Project has submitted a pretty nice article. But they seem to be just edited down to absolutely nothing. On our third tractor parade, we put in a nice article. We were asked to write the nice article. We did. We submitted it. And if you go back to your newsletter, then it said the city of Grant posted its 3rd annual, which the city didn't post. The Grant Restoration Project posted it. It said it was a nice shiny day, and it had good attendance. But it had a whole page on winter dirt pollution. Now this time we put in a nice article for the 3 kids that got $1,000 youth scholarship. And that article was cut down to absolutely nothing. I don't see any need to send in articles to our city newsletter, and because they are edited down to nothing. You wasted a great opportunity not only to recognize the kids for what they've done. A lot of those kids participated in our city cleanup. Steve, you've been in them, we give them awards for doing our city cleanup, which we don't have anymore. But you didn't recognize the charities that they gave to. And the one big opportunity you had was to recognize the 40 sponsors that sponsored that cleanup and that put in money for that scholarship. Steve Kosick, Priority Couriers, was a great sponsor on that. If you would have taken the article as written, you would have gotten the recognition. Put $20,000 or 12, whatever the amount was, into our playing field back there. There's another one, a citizen steps up, makes an effort, you had an opportunity to recognize. There's 40 people that helped support that event. You also had a date that was cut out there that said that we're gonna have our next parade on September 6th. And that date was there, and that was cut out of the article. So, you're right, we're not gonna send more articles in. You were asked last time to write one, and, we felt there's just not a need. This newsletter, I think, was just a travesty. You had an opportunity to build community spirit. I think you take every opportunity to stymie and prohibit citizen participation. Thank you.
There we go. Here's the newsletter we're talking about, and I'm briefly going to review it. He captures the front page. Normally it's inside, but he put it on the front page. Some updates: Rural Events Center, Supper Club. Again, we've talked about those extensively. Charter Commission, and there's going to be a clip on that. Fire contracts, and we've just talked about that. Wildwood Elementary, there's no traffic problems. Yeah, is he stoned or just stupid? Gateway, Brown Creek Trail and Roads, and we brought you some information on that. And he kind of wrote some disparaging things about the Charter Commission.
Actually, there was a great article submitted, and again, he paraphrased and took his slant on it, and
So if we
wasted
could-
another great opportunity.
If we could play that next clip, please.
And I'm sorry that Tom's not here. But the last newsletter, I think, took a hard swing at this commission. And I think that that needs to be addressed.
Would you like me to read it into the record?
Sure.
You have it?
Just a moment.
Yeah, it's right there. You got it. This,
No, they're,
so none of them are in? Okay. The mayor's update on the grant newsletter, the spring 2014 edition. The mayor wrote about several different things happening in the city, and he wrote about the Charter Commission. Charter Commission. I would like to say that the majority of the people on the commission are trying to do the job they were appointed to do, but several are not. I fear what this has turned into is a power struggle that has nothing to do with what is good for Grant, and that is a shame. Stay tuned for the final result, but so far it's not going well with the process, in my opinion. Signed down at the bottom, Mayor Tom Carr.
Jack, can you make a comment on the article you submitted for the city newsletter?
Well, I did submit an article for the newsletter, which it was indicated that it would be included in the newsletter, but as it turned out, it was not. And that's about as far as I would like to comment on that tonight without Tom being here. Kind of in all fairness, he should I think should explain what he means in this paragraph that he's talking about this commission, because I think we've worked very hard. We've had some differences of opinion, and some are more vocal and more articulate than others. But nonetheless, I think it's been a conscious effort to do the job for the city of Grant. And I personally take offense to that statement. So that's as much as I want to say without Tom's presence. And particularly, I'm disappointed that Tom has missed several meetings. I understand tonight he had some reasons, but I congratulate you, Steve, on your willingness to spend some extra hours, even though you spent a long day already for the city. And disappointed that Tom is not here as well. So.
I think we're all disappointed in our mayor, Lauren. You know, he asked the petition the court to be a charter commission, and he has not made it to over half of our meetings, and yet he raised disparaging remarks about the commission. He doesn't know what's going on there. He doesn't attend.
Well, that and he's gotten very control orientated where he wants to control everything that goes on in the city. And if they don't agree with him, he's going to find a way around it.
Yeah.
We
Go to
have
Candyman, and we'll see. We'll bring us on a little lighter note.
Well, we're going to do that now, or
I think we're just about there. We're running pretty close.
well, let's play Candyman. We'll jump ahead to that one, and we'll leave you a little bit.
Hi, everybody. Gather round. I'm here to give you anything you like. You want free college, energy, mortgages, whatever you like. You have come to the right place. Why? I'll tell you why. Who can take your money?
Who can take your money?
With a twinkle in their eye.
A twinkle in their eye.
Take it all away and give it to some other guy. The government. The government can. And who can tax the sunrise? Who can tax the trees?
Who can tax the trees?
Well, let you run a business and collect up all the fees. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
The government takes everything we make to pay for all of their solutions, like healthcare, climate change, pollution. Just throw away the Constitution. I wrote that, thank you. Who can give a bailout? Tell us to behave.
Tell us to behave.
And make the founding fathers roll over in their grave. I don't care if you hate me, I'm gonna sing it anyway. Oh, the government can. And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all yummy, 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 yummy. The government takes everything we make. They're all power hungry and malicious.
Their economics are fictitious. Soon we'll have to eat our dishes.
How's that taste, kids?
Delicious.
Who can be a failure?
Who can be a failure?
In so many ways.
In so many ways.
And instead of getting fired, hey, we'll give ourselves a raise. Kentucky, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, the government can. And the government can go to mix it up. I did the choreography myself. And your Uncle Sam can, 'cause he mixes it with lies to make himself look good. And I feel so good, 'cause the government says I should.
There, a little bit of humor there, but I guess the connection with that is Mayor Carr isn't listening to the citizens of Grant. He's usurping the power. It's supposed to be a weak mayor system. He is doing things on his own. He's got a board. He appointed his little sidekick that votes with him every time. He doesn't even know the issues. He's lived in Grant approximately 1 year.
It's his business partner.
It's his business partner. They're all flipping real estate, and that's great because the value of real estate in Grant is good. But the reason it's good is because it's a rural area and people are paying for the quality of life. For their children can have a quality environment, develop citizenship, social responsibility. It's an environment that people are willing to pay for to enhance the lifestyle of their children and make them growing into aware, responsible adults.
Keep in mind, that's the same thing a lot of people send their kids to a camp for a week and pay good money to send them. We're living the American dream, folks. Grant is a great place to be, but we have to protect it. This is not done in a vacuum.
That's right. And so you got to get involved, be aware, and I want to thank you for joining us for this hour. I hope you had a wonderful 4th of July, because that's when this will be showing. And come again in August. We're going to have some breaking news there with some of the litigation that's involved in the city of Grant. Have a good day, folks.